Hi everyone, I'm back for chapter 9. Do you think they saw us? Jack asked, pulling the other two to the ground to hide. Philip stuck his head up and then poked it back down. Yes, he said. In fact, they are waving as energetically as the pirates. Kind of bring on our dinner wave? Jack asked. More of like a hello friends type wave, Philip said. But we should not trust them for even a second. The stories former fishermen tell. You guys are idiots, May said. They're just people with fish tails. That's it. Now let's go say hi with more talking and less waving. Maybe they can know where we can find a boat. May, no, Jack whispered, grabbing her. But the princess yanked her arm out of his grasp and walked purposefully down toward the mermaids. Hello, she yelled, waving back awkwardly. Hello, child of man, the mermaid replied together, perfectly singing. Even their voices were pretty. Those are some pretty spectacular tails you've got there, May said, admiring them. So shiny, you're all so beautiful. The mermaids looked between one another with a how adorable look, and then turned back to May, shaking their heads in disbelief. You are too kind, the blonde one said. Really much too sweet, the redhead said. You are quite beautiful yourself, young lady, the brunette said. We're trying to get ourselves out to the pirate ship there, May told them. Any chance you know where there's a boat or something? A boat? The redhead said. No, there are no boats, not to shore. The pirates have one, of course. Would that help, the brunette asked. No, May said. She threw a wide-eyed look of crazy back at Jack and Philip that showed her polite manners were quickly cracking. No, we need to get out there, so we'd need a boat or something on this side. That's quite a problem, the blonde said. And the pirate's boat really won't work? The brunette asked. Yeah, was a bad idea, May said, turning back to Jack and Philip. Jack quickly yanked her back up the beach, as if the additional 2 feet would make her safer. Not that these mermaids seemed particularly bloodthirsty, but still. This land really was far too perfect. Miss Human Girl, the redhead said. May sighed and turned back. Yes, Miss Mermaid Woman? The redhead giggled. You're so funny. I was just going to say, what about swimming out to the boat? The other 2 mermaids looked at the redhead like she was some kind of genius. Jack narrowed his eyes, wondering how they managed to feed themselves if they were this stupid. Or was it some sort of act, lulling humans into the water and then attacking? We could try that, May said, but it's awfully far and these 2 haven't even swam before. Also, humans can't breathe as easily underwater as we can above, the redhead informed the other 2, who seemed surprised by the news. The redhead sat back, proud of her own knowledge. Well, we could help with that, the blonde said. Yes, with our tears, the brunette said. But we'd have to cry then, the redhead said. For the sake of our human friends, we really should, the blonde said. Now, ladies, let us think of something sad. What's going on? May whispered out of the corner of her mouth. I'm sort of comforted by the fact that I can't figure it out, Jack responded. The mermaids went silent for a moment, their foreheads all creased with their effort to apparently be sad. But the moment passed quickly, and soon the 3 burst out in giggles. I simply cannot think of anything upsetting, the brunette said. If I knew why we were doing this, I could totally give them something to be upset about, May whispered. Don't interrupt, Jack told her. This whole thought process seems fragile enough. Let's see where it's going. Oh, this is so sad that we can't think of anything sad, said the brunette, and then paused. Then she gasped. Oh, that is sad! And just like that, a single tear rolled down her cheek. She gently put a finger up to catch it, and then dropped it into her palm. Each of the other 2 sniffed a bit, apparently at how sad it was that they couldn't cry, and both cried a single tear as well, while the brunette cried a second, apparently not able to stop. May turned to Jack, her mouth hanging open. I just hate this place, she said, sounding surprised at her own feelings. You've mentioned that. As soon as each had her tear, the mermaid smiles instantly returned. Now, humans, you will be able to breathe as easily as we do underwater, the brunette said. That way, if you can't swim, you can just walk over to the boat. How would your tears help us breathe underwater, May asked. The mermaids looked at one another in confusion. That is their power, the blonde said. Why would you ask such a thing? It's like asking why the sun giant drops his fireball into the ocean at the end of every day. It's magic. May dropped her face into her palms, apparently trying to cover her eyes from all the stupidity. No, actually, it's science. But this is so not the time. I'm willing to try anything. How long do they last? One day, no more, the brunette mermaid said mysteriously. Oh yeah, why's that, May asked. The mermaids again looked uncomfortable. Magic? They said, almost questioningly. Philip stepped in front of May. Do we really trust these mermaids? He asked her and Jack quietly. They seem far too eager to help. It's the land of never, Jack said unto himself. They seem to be the kid-friendly mermaids, so maybe? I like your confidence, May told Jack, walking over to one of the mermaids and gently picking up the semi-solid tear. So what do we do with them? Put them in our eyes or something? The mermaids all looked at one another and laughed. Of course not, silly, the brunette said. You swallow them. 'Cause that makes more sense, May said. Philip reached out and closed his hand over May's. If you insist on going through this, princess, I shall take the first one just to see if it is safe. Yeah, Jack said. Let Philip go first. If he dies, then we'll figure something else out. Philip shook his head in disappointment at Jack, and then took the tear from May's hand and quickly swallowed it. Salty, the prince said, making a face. But how do I know if it worked? Jack pointed at the water with a smile. Only one way to find out. Philip just looked at him. You are enjoying this a bit too much, I think. I think so too, Jack said. Quit wasting time, though. Get to drowning already. With that, Philip slowly approached the water, watching the mermaids warily. When they didn't move, only smiled encouragingly, he lay down on the sand, leaned into the water, and dunked his head. A minute passed. Do you think we should check on him? Jack whispered to May. But just then, Philip jerked his head out of the water. Half expecting the prince to suck in an enormous breath, Jack was a bit surprised to see him breathing normally. Quite right, Philip said. Astonishingly, I had no trouble filling my lungs beneath the water. At least not once I had the courage to take a breath. That took the most time, making myself breathe in. That's crazy, May said. You didn't even cough up water. I'm not sure I breathed in any, Philip said. I do not pretend to understand the magic, but the water felt just like air in my mouth. My turn, May said, taking a second tear from one of the other mermaids and swallowing it. She immediately gagged, but jogged over to the water as well, lay down and dunked her head in. A moment later, she kicked her feet and yelled something, but whatever it was, they couldn't make out much with the water intact. She so easily impressed, Jack said to the clapping mermaids, then reached over for the last remaining tear. Wait, hadn't there been 4? He must have miscounted. He took a tear and swallowed it. The other 2 were right. The tears were almost unbearably salty. In fact, Jack almost heaved it back up, but managed to keep it down somehow. Just to test the magic, Jack knelt down next to May and dunked his head under the water too. It did feel like water. His head still rose and fell from the little waves May was making, and he was definitely wet, but when Jack opened his mouth to breathe in, it felt like no different to him than air. We're breathing underwater, May told him, and this time he heard her clearly. This is so cool. Wow, I had no idea drowning you was all it took to get you back in a good mood, Jack said, grinning at her. Yeah, 'cause why worry about the fact that we're stuck here if we can dunk our heads in water as long as we want? Jack laughed. I only wish I could get stuck here for a few more times just to enjoy it longer. I think you might want to look up the meaning of the word stuck, May said, splashing him. Or really just pushing water at him. Splashing didn't exactly work underwater. Hello, humans, the red-head mermaid said beneath the waves from far too close a distance. Are you having fun? More than we should be, May told her, as Jack unconsciously backed away from the mermaid's large fangs. He had seen them earlier, but somehow being this close magnified them in his mind by about 1,000. I am so glad, the mermaid said, and now prepare to have even more. Your fellow children have returned, ready to go to battle. It promises to be a grand adventure. Jack and May looked at each other and then slowly lifted their heads to find Philip surrounded by giggling middle-aged adults covered in war paint and mismatched pieces of armor, pointing swords at the prince. I declare you older kids to all be pirate spies, the man who'd opened the door for them shouted. And what do we do with pirate spies? Put them to death, yelled the adults happily. Death by what? The man yelled. Walking the plank, the rest screamed. Take them to the pirate ship. They die as soon as King Pan is freed. The children began laughing and dancing all around them happily until one of the larger men stomped over to May. Will you be our mother? The man asked in a quiet, almost shy voice. And there we go, May said. All right, I'll see you guys for chapter 10. Bye.